Well, I was in at Sills from 73 to 75, and I was just ending my first year in May of 74 when Dean Holly approached me to see if I'd be interested in this new program they were starting, this internship at EPA in the Research Triangle Park. And I honestly had never thought about going into special libraries as my profession. I thought I was going to be an academic university librarian. Um, but it sounded interesting, and I have to confess that at the time the pay was outstanding. They offered the salary, um, and it was, as I said, a new experience, a new type of experience. So um, in May of '74, we started. I was one of the first group of something like 8 interns, I think, and uh, the the main assignment we had was to try to get rid of a backlog that had been created at the library because of merging 3 different libraries into this one, and 3 libraries from other parts of the country, actually. And the EPA Research Center here in North Carolina was one of the major research centers for EPA in the country, principally concentrating on air pollution and standards. Um, so what had happened was that Stan Core, the administrator for EPA, had approached Dean Holly, and uh, they worked out the arrangements to have this contract for SIL students to work term at the library, because otherwise the library was very short-staffed with federal librarians. There was one administrative librarian named Libby Smith, who was vital to the success of this program, and maybe I'll talk about her a little bit more after a while. But uh, uh, she was the mentor for us at the EPA site, and our job was to, as I said, integrate this backlog of materials into the collection, um, and to provide um, reference services and just the full gamut of services that you would find in a special library. Um, One of the great things about the internship was that it provided rotations through at least 2, if not 3, or even 4 of the various assigned work areas. Um, that backlog included months and months of interlibrary loan requests, a very large, I'm not sure how many, maybe 8,000 technical report collection, for which we had to create a cataloging system, our own cataloging system. And we were also the translations ordering center for EPA. Let's see, what else do we, and the online searching center. Now, bear in mind, this was a time when automation was just beginning within libraries. OCLC had been started a few years before. Medline had been started a couple of years before. Uh, we obviously didn't have the internet back then. We had just the beginnings of email um, through the UNC service, actually. And so we were doing things in a combination of traditional ways and sort of vanguard ways. I'll never forget for online searching, we had these um, devices made by Texas Instrument that looked kind of like a small suitcase. It was a portable typewriter, which of course nobody knows about today. But uh, uh, like I said, it was a small suitcase. You lifted up the top, and there was a keyboard, And there was a roller for thermal paper back there, which you didn't have inkjet printing or anything like that. It was much less a monitor. You just had to do your search from typing, and uh, the results would come out on that on the roll paper, and then you would tear off the paper, and that's what you would provide to the scientist who had requested the search. And um, we were using all the major systems back then: Dialog, SDC, Orbit, Medline, ToxLine, systems that had been developed by government or government contractors for NASA and and for the National Library of Medicine. Um, so then, as time went by, of course, we moved from that kind of device. Oh, and by the way, it also had a built-in modem for communication. So we had to use a telephone to dial up these services and then put the phone down in the modem connection. It was a very primitive system, thinking about it now. But then we gradually evolved and moved to the what we think of now as monitors, the cathode ray tubes or CRTs, and but they were into them, so they were not portable or anything. But you know, then we got what we think of as modern day printers, uh, and eventually, as the internet came along and personal computers came along, but we're talking like 8 to 10 years further down the road when those developments happened. Let me talk a minute about Libby Smith. She was the library director. She had another federal employee, Gene Myers, who was an administrative assistant, and then John Knight was a computer program and sort of like what we would call today a systems administrator. He was crucial to setting up, doing the programming, setting up the databases, like the cataloging system for the technical reports, the in-house databases we used. And also, he was the programmer for something called the Air Pollution Technical Information Center, which APTIC, which provided information in the way of bibliographic references mainly to researchers all over the country, not just for EPA. And so that was was integrated into the internship program too. And so some of our interns got to work with APTIC and providing information to the public through that means. So you can see that we had a wide variety of rotations of experiences, and that was really one of the primary attractions for this internship. Going back to the origins for just a minute, at the time, of course, internships existed in other library schools and at SILS, but for the most part, they were within the academic community. At UNC, they were practically entirely on campus. This was off campus. It was a 30 to 45-minute drive from campus. We worked 4 hours a day, typically 20 hours a week. We could more or less make our own schedules. But for me, I was quite fortunate in that when I finished my coursework in December of '74, Dean Holley had seen the need for an on-site supervisor, and I was hired for that position. So for the next 2 years or so, I was in that position, and my duties were to, well, of course, supervise the interns, but to set up the rotations for assignments, train the interns, and generally do the specific supervision, which the federal librarian, because this was a contract, remember, was not allowed to do. A lot of times I was the middleman. The instructions would come from her. We need this, so and so, and I had to figure out which intern to assign to a certain job and then train them in doing that. So it was for me. It was personally very rewarding and built my experience as a supervisor. And so that in 1977, when a job came opening across Highway 54 at another federal organization called the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, um, I was hired to be their library director and to build up their fledgling library. I had a very small staff there, and one of my duties was to increase the services, build the collection, and to build the staff. And to do that, I thought, well, okay, I've had experience with using interns, so let me investigate something similar. Well, being another federal organization, it wasn't too difficult to arrange the paperwork through EPA. And so I don't remember the exact year, but it was within just a few years of having started work at NIEHS that we started the EPA NIEHS internship. And we had about 3 students, so we weren't as large as EPA, but we also offered the different rotations, and those positions were then crucial to the ongoing running of the NIEHS library and providing the information services. For me personally, working at the EPA in the internship really set my career going. I was able to move on into a special library, and I stayed in that field for the rest of my career. The variety of experiences that I had in the internship, whether it was in cataloging or reference or database building or whatever, and the interaction with the patrons and getting to know them and their research needs, all of that contributed to my desire to work in the area of special libraries and to make that career. I'm extremely glad that I did that. I had a wonderful career and built many friendships and stayed in touch with SILs and had and collaborated with professors there in subsequent years on research projects. And so I really credit the EP internship with starting me on my career and the success that I had in the field. I can't imagine what I would have done otherwise.